Hey you guys, so today we are doing a bridal tutorial, as you can tell right here. This look is something that I feel would flatter literally any bride that tried it. I guess you would consider this more a traditional kind of classic bridal look, but I feel like it's something you can't go wrong with. Obviously there are tons and tons of different types of brides. I've had every kind of bride you can imagine. Sitting in my chair, I've had boho brides, vintage brides, classical brides, natural brides, glam brides, gothic brides. I've had them all. So while this is a very traditional kind of classic bridal look, it will definitely stand the test of time in your wedding picture. Before we get started, make sure you guys are subscribed if you are not, and check the down bar for links to all my social media platforms. This is the video I said I would be announcing the rules of the giveaway in, and they are all down below in the description box, so make sure you head down there and check it out. As I said before, the giveaway is taking place on Instagram, so make sure you are hanging out with me there. Alright guys, let's just get started. I'm gonna have a naked face in 3, 2, 1. Hey you guys, so here we are. I have nothing on my face at this juncture whatsoever. I'm going to try to be as informative as possible, but quick as possible, because this video is probably already going to be long. I wouldn't say that I'm about to give you a full-blown brow tutorial so much as I'm going to try to lay down thick some principles to keep in mind, and they go a little something like this. I would start with a brow powder. I know it's very popular with a lot of people to use brow pencils, but to me, everything that we're going to do today is going to be built up in layers, and each layer is going to be blended out pretty heavily. So for brows, it's gonna start the same way. I'm laying down some powder and I'm blending it out. That way I have like a nice base to work with, and then I can use my pencil to do a little bit more detail work as opposed to relying on just a pencil, which because it is of a waxy nature, can be a little bit difficult to blend out compared to something like a powder. I personally always start my makeup with my brows. We're going to focus mostly on two things, and that's glow and shape. So anything that is going to give you a glow or give you shape is what we need to focus most of our attention on. So starting with your brows and getting them really perfect is going to help you with shape because A, obviously your brows have a shape, and B, you will have a better understanding of the shape of the rest of your face, how it ties into your brows. To me, having your brows done first makes the eye look you're doing and the shape you're gonna create with your eyes a little bit easier to map out. So that is why we're doing it, especially today. Once I have my base and I've blended it out, I'm gonna move on to my pencil. I highly recommend the brow blade from Urban Decay because it's two-sided. It has this little ink side that gives you really tiny, fine hair-like strokes, and obviously it has a pencil. Anything that you have will work. This is just what I've been using the most lately. Down below in the description box, I'm going to leave all the information about the products that I use, as well as which ones I think are worth the splurge, and which ones I think you can probably just use whatever you have. This is a taupe brow powder. This is a taupe brow pencil because I don't want anything too warm, too cool, too dark. Taupe, if you're just kind of getting your feet wet with makeup or don't want to have any worries about your brows not photographing well, taupe is a good color to work with. So I'm just going to fill in the rest of my brows using the pencil. One thing I do recommend is to draw brows like you're drawing on hair. Don't just do like one blanket motion. Do a lot of quick little flicks with your wrist to get that hair-like effect. One tip I will give you also is to stay away from this part of your brow as much as possible. You can put a little bit of powder there when you're starting off the process so that it doesn't look completely different in tone compared to the rest of your brow. But if you leave this area more clean, it actually looks like real brows instead of something drawn on or painted on, if that makes any sense. That's another reason I like doing my brows first, because I can get a little messy with them. If I don't like the shape, it's easier to clean up and fix. And once again, like I said, the main focus of this look is shape and glow. Okay, so next we're going to move on to finishing up these brows and giving them a lot of movement and texture, which is what's gonna make them look very real and lifelike, both in person and on camera. And as far as like gotta have it products, this might be up there for me. This is the Urban Decay Brow Endowed. It has two sides. There's a primer side and a color side. If I'm keeping it 100, the primer side is the one that I use the most, but you're just gonna take this and run it through your brows, and it's going to lift them up and give them so much movement. They will automatically look thicker. They will look like you just have really nice bossy brows as opposed to a really nice bossy brow routine. So you're just gonna let this dry for like 30 seconds or so, and what I like to do then is move on with another brow gel, particularly a tinted one. I know people love a nice clear brow gel, and if that's all you have in the budget, you can make it work, it's totally fine. But where I like these kind of fiber building or tinted brow gels that I'm gonna recommend to you today is that sometimes a clear brow gel can look a little shiny, which I just feel like makes it look a little bit more artificial. So something like the things I'm using today just gives it a lot of fluff and movement. But the brow gel that I'm gonna use to like kind of finish this filling in process is Benefit Give Me Brow. I also really love the Charlotte Tilbury, I think it's called the Supermodel Brow. Whatever you have will work, as I said. So at this point, my brows are looking a little out of balance with everything else going on my face, but that's because there is nothing else happening on my face. And as we move through this process and things start to come together, it'll all work out. You'll have to trust me. I am going to kind of, I don't want to say carve out my brows, because the point of this is not to highlight the brow area, but I find that putting some concealer around and especially underneath your brow once again helps enhance the shape and will also prevent you from running into a situation where as you're doing your foundation, you might get foundation on your brows. This is kind of like a little barrier between your foundation and your brows. Does that make sense? This looks really light. I just spray tanned last night, so pretty much everything I put on my complexion today isn't gonna look quite right until it's like blended out. But once again, just trust me, everything's gonna be okay. I have it under control. Then I'm gonna take my concealer and highlight underneath my brow. I do this every time I do my makeup because I feel like at the end of your application, it keeps this area nice and bright. So if you do wanna highlight your brow bone, you have the perfect canvas for that. It does a good job of lifting up the eye. It's just, I think it makes a huge difference, but you do not have to do it if you don't want to. I'm gonna go ahead and do eyes. I know a lot of people do things on all types of different orders, but for me, I don't want to run into a situation, especially on my wedding day, where there's a chance there will be shadow fallout on my face if I need to clean something up, or if I mess up, like shit happens. So doing things in this order for me gives you a buffer if you run into any situations. Like the worst thing would be do your entire face makeup and then get started on your eyes and you mess up and you just can't really fix it. Do you know what I mean? But I will say you should be practicing this. If you are doing your wedding makeup, I would do it a couple of times before the big day, and also give yourself plenty of time, because throughout the day of your wedding, especially when you're with your friends and your family and you're all getting ready together, like people are gonna wanna talk to you, people are gonna be bringing champagne in, you're gonna have pictures that people want, people are gonna be calling, like it's gonna be a busy day. So give yourself ample time, more time than you think you could possibly use. You will be glad not to feel rushed or stressed or time crunched in that process. So I just applied concealer to my eye as a primer. I feel like lately the only time I use a literal eye primer is for my lash line, but for my lid, just a nice light thin concealer works, and then I just dust it lightly with a translucent powder. Some people don't like to do this. I just think that's anarchy, because trying to blend a powder out on top of a sticky base makes no sense to me. Trying to blend a powder into another powder, so much easier. So for the eyeshadow look, I could pull out a big ass Morphe palette or something like that, but since I really want to focus once again on shape, I don't think you need a whole lot to create the ideal bridal makeup look. I know a lot of people do wings and a lot of warm shades. I personally love like a natural look where everything is brows, lashes, lips, and skin. And that's what I want the overall appearance to invoke. I don't want it to be like, oh, her eye makeup's pretty. I want it to be, oh my God, she's beautiful. Like that's what I want. Few things here that I'm gonna be reaching for. I have a bronzer. This is Hoola bronzer for Benefit, but since I am gonna use this to contour my nose and my nose contour is gonna kind of run into my eye, I want everything to flow together the best way that I can. So I'm even gonna later on take blush and put it into my eyeshadow look, because the more seamless and in line all your tones are, the more, I don't wanna say natural, because every time you say natural, people think it means no makeup. You can still look flawless and it look natural. The next thing I'm gonna use is this eyeshadow palette from Tom Ford, and then I'm also gonna pull a little bit from this palette from Charlotte Tilbury. You do not have to go buy these fancy schmancy palettes to do this makeup look. I wanted to use a small amount of product so I can show you guys how simple it all is. And truthfully, these two palettes are so similar, you could probably get away with just one. I just so happen to really like this for a lid color. So the first thing I'm gonna do is take my bronzer. Listen, I have to cut footage out of this video in order to make it something that's even remotely watchable, okay? But you're gonna have to take my word for it when I say that I am going to blend out everything that I do for a hot minute. Hence the give yourself plenty of time spiel. So for me, would start out here in the outer corner, and I'm literally just gonna hang out here and then start dragging it up and over. So it goes like You don't want to get too heavy-handed with this right in this area. You just want to use it to tie in all your lines. So I've been blending this out for about a minute on each eye. I can't stress enough, we want puffs of color. We don't want clear indications of where one starts and where one doesn't. I'm gonna move on to a different shade. I'm gonna take a little bit of this slightly warmer kind of reddy brown shade, and I'm going to just dust this a little bit lower into the crease. So with every step, I'm going to tap it right here, because on my particular eyes, creating shape like this, where it's kind of lighter here and darker here, it really opens me up. Obviously, adjust this as you see fit, but for me, that's the ideal location for depth of color, is in the outer corner. Keep your big brushes close by. I'm going to link a video I made a very long time ago down below, all about eyeshadow blending if this is your first rodeo. But one of the bigger tips I will give you is if you're using a small brush, keep the bigger one that you use to apply the prior color with nearby, so you can just get in there and soften it up as you go. Work in small amounts. It is so much easier to add more product than it is to take it away. So the good things about the shadows that I'm working with today is they have a little bit of a shimmer in them. It's nothing too crazy or too apparent to the naked eye, but it really makes blending color out so much easier, and it helps create a softer blend as a result, which, like I said, that's what we're going for. Lastly, I'm gonna move in with the darkest shade in this quad, this guy right here. Please excuse my hands. I tanned yesterday, not the best at it. Clearly, I always end up with this situation on my hand. Okay, taking a smaller brush, put this in the outer corner, and what you want to do is you want to resist your urge to drop it down. You want to keep it up, like so. You just want to pull it down from the outer corner. So none of this. Keep your brush turned upwards. Once again, our main focus here is creating shape. It's okay if it gets messy, like I said. That's half the benefit of doing your eyes first. Once you lay it down, go in with your bigger brush and start to soften it up. So now that we have that, we're going to start our eyeliner. This is the part in your look that I feel, and no, we're not doing a wing, so don't get nervous, that I feel is what's really gonna make or break the overall eye look, because we're going to smudge our eyeliner out. What we want is everything to look really, like I said, so nothing super harsh. So what you wanna do, and this is gonna be really hard for me to do on camera because I have to get up in my mirror and move quickly. Get all of this ready. Get your pencil, get the brush you're gonna use to smudge your liner out, and have the color that you're going to smudge that with. I'm gonna use NARS Coconut Grove because it's my favorite, so I always use it. What you're gonna do, looking down into a mirror, pull your eye a little bit taut. And the most important aspect of this, you guys, you really want to keep this line, especially when you go in with your cream or your pencil or whatever you're going to use, keep it as close to your lashes as humanly possible, because the second you blend out any kind of cream product, it expands. That's true with any cream. So you want to use a small amount so when it expands, it doesn't take over your look. So for me, I'm going to focus most of it on the outer corner. Then I'm gonna go immediately in with my liner brush and my shadow and start smudging it out. So once I kind of have a rough little bit of a line going on here, I'm gonna move in with a lighter color and a bigger brush. As you can see, this brush was really thin and skinny so that the line that it gave me was more precise. This one's a little thicker and fluffier with a lighter color, and I'm gonna soften that edge out of this line as well. And then if you want to make sure you keep some depth right by the lash line, you can just go in and kind of go back and forth until you get this as blown out or as strong as you prefer. Okay, so I am going to take my gel liner and the tiniest liner brush I can find, and you are going to want to lightly trace along the lash line, once again as close as you can get, because when we do our false lashes, this will help them look a little bit more uniform and like blended into our eye, as opposed to just looking like the lash band is kind of floating above your eyelid. So you want to go in, once again, very small brush, very little product. This is so hard to do on camera. Eyeliner just is the worst. So very small line kind of fading in to our bigger one. Then I'm gonna take this more shimmery color from the Charlotte Tilbury palette and put this right here on my eye. And if you're kind of like, why are you putting that on now after eyeliner? I don't want a blinding, like frosty, glittery situation here. I just want to bring light to it so that it's giving me a shape. And the shape I want is more open here and more kind of structured out here. One more really weird step that you might be kind of confused about right now is I'm going to take one of the blushes I plan on using later. In this case, it's gonna be Gina from NARS, and I'm gonna go in with that really, really fluffy brush that I started off with, put some of it on there, and you just wanna kind of run it along the edges because it'll give it a nice, pretty romantic color, warm it up a little bit, and then once again, once we get into the rest of our complexion, we're just kind of melding all of the tones together. Off camera, I'm gonna do my other eye and then I will be right back. So I made a little bit of a mistake. I accidentally moisturized my skin off camera like a dingus. So I'm gonna tell you really quickly what I use and just kind of go from there. I sprayed this stuff right here. This is the MAC Lightful Sea Coral Grass Softening Lotion Spray on first. I let that sink in, and then I applied MAC Strobe Cream. I heard about this little primer cocktail from a makeup artist named Romero Jennings, who works really closely with MAC. I honestly can't remember if he's in product development or exactly what his role in the company is, but he is very well versed in all things MAC. He said that he likes this combination of moisturizers and primers. It's beautiful on the skin. I've been doing this for a month or two now, and I agree, I really love it. So for priming my skin, what I've been doing, like I said, is moisturizing like this, and then I will go in with some sort of pore minimizing primer here in just a second. So now I'm gonna take the MAC Prep and Prime Skin Refined Zone. You wanna use a very small amount of this, like that much should cover your entire face. And you just want to kind of work it in between your fingers and press it in to the areas that you have the most texture. This will also mattify your skin a little bit. This will put me in a position where I can use a little bit less powder, and we do want our makeup to hold up really well and wear nice throughout the day. We are going to have to use powder. There's no way around it, especially if you're oily. If you're dry, lucky you can skip it. But doing things like priming correctly in the areas I know I get more shiny will help me moving forward. Okay, so we're getting ready to start complexion, and we're gonna spend some time on this. Once again, I cannot include all the blending footage in the video. You're just gonna have to take my word for it. I have 3 beauty sponges. You don't need 3, but I would have at least 2. You're gonna wanna keep these nearby because we are gonna do very similar to our eye makeup what we're gonna do on our face, which is like we apply, we blend, we apply, we blend, we apply, we blend. First, I'm gonna apply my color corrector. This is the Becca color corrector. I have not been getting great sleep lately and my under eye circles have been epic. I'm not gonna put a lot of this on because it's very pigmented, but once I get it on the skin, I'm just gonna take a sponge and start blending it out. Everything you put on your skin, you guys, for the rest of this video, I want you to focus on blending and pressing and blending and pressing and blending. Okay, I'm gonna move on to foundation. I'm gonna use the NARS All Day Luminous mixed with the NARS Sheer Glow. This one is a little bit more high coverage and like a creamy texture. This one is glowy and kind of sheer. This one might be a little bit too yellow. This one is a little bit more neutral mixed together. It's gonna give me the effect that I'm going for. Now, as far as your foundation goes for your wedding, I cannot give you a blanket statement what you should be using because everyone's different, everyone's preferences are different, everyone's budgets are different, everyone's skin type, skin textures, it's all different. So it's very difficult for me to say blanket statement what you should use. I will leave some links down below to 2 foundation videos I have done. They're a little outdated. They do need to be revamped because I have a lot of new favorites, but they feature some foundations and some quick foundation reviews of things I have liked in the past. The closest thing to a blanket statement I'm willing to give is to say, use less coverage than you think you need. And I don't mean it has to be sheer, but don't go in with the most full coverage thing that you can find. Work in small layers with things that are a little bit more sheer. I know that's so funny for me to say right now because it looks like I'm painting on like a totally different skin color. But like I said in the beginning of the video, I am freshly tanned, so my face is just a lot darker than it normally is. But I will be blending this as much as possible. So once you've applied your foundation, which I would do with a brush first, you want to start blending it with a sponge. Look at all this in my hair. Maybe don't do your hair first. That's a good tip. Okay, now we're gonna start contouring. I know a lot of people prefer to do just powder or just cream. We're gonna do a little bit of both because I want to do layers, like I said. So I'm gonna take the Fenty Match Sticks. Mine are in the shade Amber and Mocha. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start off with the cool toned one first, which is Amber. So it's very gray looking, as you can tell. We all know shadows are cool toned, but we do not want to look like cadavers. So we will apply this cooler one and layer it with a warmer one also. But to start, I'm just going to apply it directly from the tube and I'm going to press it into my skin like this. You don't want to swipe because you don't want to remove your existing foundation. So just quick kind of like dotting motions like this will blend it out pretty quickly. So now I'm gonna take the warmer shade and just go right over the area that I just applied the cooler one. And if I were you guys, especially if you're working with these because they have a drier texture, I would apply and blend. Don't do that drawing all over your face nonsense. It is not necessary, not helpful or anything. Just apply and blend like so, and then it'll just kind of like melt into the skin. So I'm going to use the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. I didn't realize how many things in this video are NARS, but not sponsored, I swear. I'm using the shade Custard and the shade Ginger. I don't want this to be too light and I don't want this to be too dark, so having 2 shades handy will help with the pursuit of that. Okay, listen to me and listen to me good at this point. We are blending our concealer as if our very lives depend on it. I do not think if you're gonna skip anything I talk about, don't skip this one. Blending your concealer into your skin, especially because we've already contoured, it's gonna make everything look so much more seamless and it's gonna help it flow a lot better. So you're gonna blend for a minute. Literally, I would say you're gonna sit here and blend this for at least 2 to 3 minutes on each eye. Okay, so after you've blended that till the cows come home, you need to set it immediately. No time to wait. Make double, triple sure that if you have any fine lines underneath your eyes, nothing has settled there. And then immediately set it. I know this is a very attractive face. Try not to fall in love with me, kid. So we're also going to highlight the center of our face. I like to do this in like a little circle right here because it blends out a little better than doing streaks, because the streaks will kind of move up, but doing the circle keeps it right here in the center of my forehead. And then down the center of the nose. Now we're gonna set the remainder of our face using the Hourglass Veil Translucent Powder. This is something I definitely recommend investing in. I got a question through the DMs about flashback. Flashback usually comes from foundation, particularly if you're using something that has sunscreen in it. So be very mindful of using anything that has sunscreen. I know it's good for us and all that good stuff, but we can definitely skip a day. There's no way for me to tell you 100%, you know, blanket statement, every foundation from this company does flashback, every powder from this company does flashback. You're really just gonna have to test it out and figure out what it is that you have that's doing it. Flashback can also come from using things that are too light for you. So if you're very deep complected and this leaves a white cast on you, you can bet it's gonna flash back that way also. So you're gonna have to kind of play around and figure out what products work best for your skin tone. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and contour with powder. You can still see that I have contour on my face, but it's not like a bam in your face Nancy Grace, which we don't want it to be. We want it to kind of look like in our skin, and these products that I'm using to contour with do an amazing job of that. This Charlotte's Tilbury Home Star Bronze and Glow, I have been using it forever because it has even the slightest little bit of shimmer and it just like melts into the skin in this really beautiful way. Once again, we are tapping in. You don't want to disturb the makeup you already have. This brush is going to be your secret weapon. It doesn't have to be this brush, but you need a brush similar to it. So this brush is pretty fluffy, but it's got some density to it. The bristles move around very effortlessly. They're not too stiff. They won't disturb product. But every time you apply something powder-wise for the rest of this makeup application, you want to go in with your fluffier brush and blend it out. Our main objective is shape and glow. And you can achieve structure and dimension to the face using shape, but you don't need it to be completely like a brown line on your face visible, if that makes any sense. For bronzer, I'm gonna take one matte bronzer and one luminous bronzer. I have to say, this bronzer in general is one of the things I would recommend that you get, but it is not absolutely mandatory. So I'm just going to mix these two together on my brush, and we are stippling again. We are going to take our fluffy brush I was telling you about before, and we are going to blend our existing situation. Do not be like putting a lot of pressure. You just really want the tip of these bristles to lightly be buffing into your skin. Move on to our lower lash line. I am going to use an actual eye primer on my lower lash line as opposed to a concealer, because if you find that your mascara, like your lower lash mascara, your eyeliner, anything tends to move around on you throughout the day, it could be because you probably should be applying a primer first. On me personally, my lower lash line situation will move around if I do not prime it accordingly. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this. This is the Urban Decay Primer Potion. You can use any primer in the world, and I'm going to dot it underneath my eye and then blend that out quickly with a brush. So I'm going to go in with the bronzer that we started off with, and I'm going to start lightly smoking out my lower lash line. This is hard for me because I really love to smoke out my lashes because I need the shape. Otherwise, my eyes get a little bit lost. So you're gonna have to kind of work this out based on your personal preference, but I will have to apply some shade to my lower lash line. We're just gonna blend it like our lives depend on it. So now I'm mixing these two colors from that Tom Ford quad on my brush. I'm just buffing this underneath that area. And every time I do that, I will go in with a bigger brush and soften up the edge. We're gonna go ahead and do lashes now. And I'm gonna give you a few tips about this because I know this is something that a lot of brides or people who wanna do their own makeup for their wedding tend to struggle with. There is no like quick fix to learning how to put on false lashes. Really the only thing that you can do to learn how to put them on is to put them on. And you're gonna have to practice that. So I would say in the weeks leading up to your wedding, you should probably go buy a pack of them or 2 or 3, and every night before you go to bed, just practice. Obviously, you don't have to wear false lashes if you don't want to, but the bridal look that I love is lashes, brows, and glow. So lashes are crucial to me as far as that's concerned. And the lashes that I've been loving lately for a more natural look, or as natural as I'm gonna go with my lashes, are these lashes from Coco Lashes. They're called Eris, and they're perfect for me because they're long, but they're not too thick. They have some dimension to them. They're my new favorite lashes in the entire world. Like, I bought about 12 pairs the other day because I just don't want to run out of them. So really quickly, I'm going to turn the camera off and pop these on and keep on going because, like I said, there's just I don't have any magic tips and tricks for you outside of anything that you could Google anywhere else, except that you need to practice. And I'll be right back. So we're going to take a little bit more of that blush we're going to use later and go ahead and once again run this underneath the eye, just kind of blending all the tones together. I'm going to go ahead and take my shimmery color that I put all over my lid, and I'm just going to pop this underneath the brow bone. We're going to blend again. I'm gonna take this Pixie Eye Bright liner. It's just a nude eyeliner, and put this in my waterline. This is optional, but it definitely brightens up the eye area in a very pretty, useful way. It comes out pretty bold when you first apply it, but it will kind of settle down. Next, what is probably one of my favorite steps, I'm going to apply it bottom lash mascara. This is the Clinique bottom lash mascara. I was using the Pixie one forever, and then I ran out and I went to go buy some more the other day, and they didn't have any in stock, so I just ordered this on the quick. But obviously you know how to apply mascara, so I'm just going to do that really fast. Now we're going to blush it up, and for this I'm going to be mixing some blushes together. First, I'm going to start off with Charlotte Tilbury First Love because I feel like it's just a nice, dusty, kind of soft pink. And it's got a little bit of shimmer in it. And as I've said many times in this video, anything that has a little bit of shimmer, even if it's not detectable to the naked eye, just blends beautifully. We're gonna run this along our nose, on our forehead, and on our chin, because once again, we want everything to blend together. I'm gonna top that off with the Gina blush from NARS that we have been using on our eyes. So at this time, I would go ahead and go back in with brushes that I have used on my face and just make sure to touch up anything that you may have lost. I really like this look. So this step, I would say, is crucial. This is the Ambient Lighting Powder from Hourglass in the color Dim Light. I'm choosing this one because while it still gives a very beautiful filtered finish, it's not as glowy, like frosty, super shimmery as some of the other ones can be. It's just very nice and mild, and we're gonna go back in with our fluffy brush that we've been using on our face this entire time, and we're going to blend it out. For highlighter, I'm going to use the Catrice Cosmetics Champagne Campaign, which I use all the time. You guys know it's like basically my favorite highlighter. But today especially, it's ideal because it's very pretty and glowy without being frosty. Like, that's what I always love about this highlighter as a whole, but on your wedding day especially, that's what you want. If you put a little bit of this highlighter right on the tip of your eyebrow, it does this really pretty glowy effect right in this area. You might have to go in and kind of blend it out a little bit. You don't want it to be too frosty, especially if you have any texture on your forehead, but it just looks so pretty. And if you're gonna do a hydrating setting spray, this is where you would do it. Okay, so for lips, I'm going to do Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk because it's a pretty pinky nude color, but I can't talk while I apply it, so I'm just gonna do that really fast. For lipstick, I'm gonna do Pixie Beauty Matte Beige. For gloss, I'm using Clara by Buxom. A lot of people might skip the gloss until they've like kissed their groom and all that good stuff, but I don't really care. At this juncture, my husband's used to it, and small price to pay to get to marry this. Alright guys, this is the finished look. I hope that you like it. In person, I don't know how it's reading on camera, but in person it looks really romantic and pretty, and if I was getting married tomorrow, I would probably do something like this. And as usual, feel free to omit or change any step in this process that you yourself do not think you would benefit from or don't personally like. That's cool. Anyway, I hope you guys are having an amazing day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!